What's up, everyone? Have you all seen the new Barbie movie? I've seen it because I'm a Barbie fan myself. Unfortunately, 97 million people won't be able to see the Barbie movie in their cinemas. What could be the reason? What would you suggest they do instead of just banning the film? This is World IQ. Let's get it. According to Forbes, director Greta Gerwig's colossal Barbie movie has grossed more than $200 million at the domestic box office in its first 5 days in theaters, shattering the record for biggest opening for a film with a female director, as the Mattel doll's big screen debut heads for $500 million in global ticket sales. However, despite this global success, the Barbie movie was in a lot of heat that it was almost banned in the Philippines. It did get banned in Vietnam because the film showed something controversial. If you've seen the movie, what could that possibly be? It's a harmless feel-good comedy, right? No, it was not about how the set caused a global shortage of pink paint. Just to provide some context, wait, before I do that, could you please hit that subscribe button? Done? Thanks. Alright, context. Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam and the Philippines have an ongoing territorial maritime dispute with China. According to the Lowy Institute, the 9-dash line is used by the Chinese Communist Party, or the CCP, to illustrate claims to the South China Sea. One of the key issues, though, is that the nature of the claim is deliberately ambiguous, and it has never been made explicit by the CCP what the 9-dash line represents. Remember that scene in Barbie where Weird Barbie showed her a map of the real world? Yeah, this one. I know what you might be thinking. It looks harmless. It's fictional. It's just a drawing of a kid, right? They also have a lot of other lines here. Oh, I think I saw some arrows. How can something like that cause such a stir? Vikentine, head of the ministry's Department of Cinema, told the state-run Duoitra newspaper, "We do not grant a license for the American movie Barbie to be released in Vietnam because it contains the offending image of the 9-dash line." The Philippines also had the same reaction and context for banning the movie. But why is it such a big deal? It's just a fictional map, right? Well, it's not as simple as we think. It all has something to do with international politics. As early as the 1970s, countries began to claim islands in various zones in the South China Sea, such as the Spratly Islands, which possess rich natural resources and fishing areas. Under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, everyone should have the freedom to navigate these waters without any tensions. It's a lot more complicated than that, but you get the gist. It provides a legal mechanism to protect people and resolve conflicts. The Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, they're the people who decide what's legal or not. A court, but for countries. They ruled in favor of the Philippines on practically all counts when the country filed a complaint in July 2016 against China. But China hasn't been cooperating much. Did you know that this is not the first time popular culture has become embroiled in the politics of the South China Sea? The Philippines has banned all domestic screenings of a Hollywood film called Uncharted over a scene showing a disputed map of the South China Sea. This was a decision made shortly after Vietnam, another claimant in the South China Sea, also banned the Sony Pictures action movie, which stars Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. When countries ban certain films, oftentimes it has something to do with their culture or politics. When big movies like Barbie come out, it can create a lot of public opinion, and it can either strengthen or undermine someone's authority. In this particular case, the film implicitly undermines the sovereignty of Vietnam and other countries in Southeast Asia. We think the question of whether or not the ban was necessary lies in the intention and how it was explicitly expressed in the film. If it's not as obvious, maybe the films can get away with it. The Movie and Television Review and Classification Board of the Philippines allowed the screening of the Barbie movie. After meticulous scrutiny of the film, Philippine censors were convinced that the cartoonish map did not depict the 9-dash line. However, it does not go without saying that any creative production, whether or not it is intentional, chances are some of it might get tangled in the complex web of international politics. You see, banning a movie, it's such a serious move for any government to do. While the Barbie movie is not as critical and serious, there are more films out there that make it so obvious why some countries ban them. For example, the animated movie Persepolis centered its plot around the creator's childhood during the Iranian Revolution and the subsequent Iran-Iraq War. We can also see it in the 2001 movie Zoolander, which starred Ben Stiller. If the plot of the movie is about the attempted assassination of the Malaysian Prime Minister, it should be no surprise when the movie is banned there, right? The best example, in our opinion, for banning films that are very political in nature would be Battleship Potemkin, a silent movie from Soviet Russia, which depicts the real-life events of Russian sailors on a battleship who rebel against their leaders. The guys risk their lives to guarantee they receive fair and equal treatment, since they are fed up with their leaders' abusive treatment of them and the terrible food they are given. Governments disapproved of Battleship Potemkin because of its ostensibly anti-war message when it was released in between the two world wars, because they were concerned that it would incite similar sentiments in their citizens and maybe lead to soldiers revolting, like those depicted in the film. France and the UK both outlawed the movie. For people in the creative industry, it has become increasingly difficult to produce any form of art without the chance of offending people. Another alternative would be to just cut that scene short, or maybe they can blur some frames. I'm no expert on how movies get screened. That's just my opinion on this matter. On the bright side of things, the fact that it is becoming difficult does not necessarily mean it's a bad thing, because it can also mean that we are moving towards a more inclusive and thoughtful society. Alright everyone, that's it for today's video. Should they have just blurred that part out? What are your thoughts on the whole issue? Let us know in the comments. If you'd like to know more about the world, give us a follow. Continue expanding your world IQ.